Okay, I'm going to do a few videos about percents. A lot of you are on percents right now, and I don't think I've made any videos of percents yet, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with the basics. What is, let's say, 45% of 136? Okay. So the way I teach percents, and there are many different ways to do percents, but the way I teach percents is to use a proportion. And the reason I use a proportion to teach percents is because if you use a proportion, you can use it for any type of percent problem as long as you're putting all the numbers in the right places. So a proportion can be used for any type of percent problem, amongst other things. So here we have, I want a blue marker, but I don't have one on me. Oh yes I do, I found it, woo-doo! I have 45% and I have 136. So a proportion, if you remember, is two equal ratios. So one of my ratios in my proportion is going to represent the percent. So in this case, I have the percent already given, and it's 45. And all percents are out of 100. So that's the first part of my proportion. This is 45%, written as a ratio or a fraction. So 45 out of 100 is equal to some other ratio. So this is 45 out of 100 because all percents are out of 100, and I want to make it equal to something where I could find out what this number would represent if my whole number was 136. So my 136, since this is the whole thing, I want to find out what is 45% of 136. So this is my 100% right here. So basically I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what is 45% of 136? So I have my x right across from the 45, and I have my 136 across from the 100 because this amount represents 100%. And then to solve, I'm going to use cross multiplication, which you should get into the habit of knowing how to do it. So this just ends up being 100x equals 45 times 136. Do my math over here. 136 times 45. 5 times 6, 0, 3, 13, 18. 5 times 1, 5, and 6, 0. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 3 is 12, 13, 14. And 5 and 0, 12, 11, 6. Hopefully I did my math right. So 100x equals, oops, 6120. I'm going to check my math really quickly on the calculator. Yes, I am. 45 times 136 equals. Yes. Okay. So now you want to get x by itself. So here's the little algebra part right here. If this is 100 times something equals 6,120, then you can also say that 6,120 divided by 100 equals x. So I divided by 100 over here, but if I'm going to divide this by 100, and that's what this means, divided by 100. Remember, all fractions are division problems. If I'm going to do it over here, I have to do it over here because whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side to keep them equal. So 100 divided by 100 just equals 1. So that equals 1x, which is the same as x because 1 times anything is just that thing. And then 6,120 divided by 100, you just can move the decimal over. I'll even show you why or how. Okay, that goes in 6 times. 600. 12, bring down the 0, that goes in once. 120, add the decimal, 0. 200, 2. So there's my decimal right there, and when you divide by 100, you can just move your decimal over 2 places. So my answer is 61.20. You don't have to put that 0, but you can. Alrighty. This is one example of percent problems. So 45, I guess you could say 45% of 136 is 61.20. Does it make sense? I think it makes sense because 45 is almost half, and this is also almost half of that. Alright.